We're live, baby. We're in it.
Good morning, everybody.
How you guys doing? Hope you're doing well. Welcome to Work Hard. I'm your host, Ethan. With me is my co-host, Jason.
Hello, everybody.
You doing all right, Jason?
I'm doing all right.
Good, good. Let's get these levels a little higher, Oh, man. What a week. What a week. It's been 2 weeks for us, for me and you.
Yes, sir.
Because we're doing two.
The new schedule.
Yeah, the new schedule is double headers every other week to give Jason and I some Saturday mornings back for productivity.
Or productivity.
Productivity. As today's episode will be covering the book Productivity. And before we get into that, how much time did you spend in a classroom in high school? Did you go to a co-op or were you straight homeschooled?
I had some co-op classes in high school.
Okay, so you were in a classroom.
It was like for literature.
Okay.
It was very little.
Okay.
No, I take it back, and then I went to a community college for math and art. So math and some electives.
Okay.
In my last 2 years, I think, of high school.
Okay.
So I was in classroom for that.
Okay.
Stuff that was a little too complicated to do at home, that was beyond what my parents could reasonably help me with, because it was getting to more higher level stuff.
Yeah.
The stuff you don't remember and use every day.
Right, of course. Yeah. Now, did you... I know the answer to this, but I'm going to ask you anyways. Did you ever play the penis game in high school?
Would have been difficult without a class.
Right, that's what I'm saying. That's why I asked about your timing.
I am aware of it.
You are aware of it?
I think... It may have been introduced to me in middle school when I was at a private school by some of the more edgy kids.
Edgy kids, yeah. I
don't remember where I first heard about that.
I went to public school from middle school on, so I was homeschooled up until middle school. And I was a penis game champion.
I mean, the idea is to say it louder and louder, right?
Right. So for those of you that don't know what it is, you're sitting in class with your friends, and you take turns progressively saying the word penis louder and louder and louder and louder till one of you gets caught, and that's the winner. Or it's just like the person who says it the loudest before, whoever chickens out first, it loses. Yeah. I was a champion at that game.
I have no doubt.
One of the last times I ever played it was in high school. And we hadn't played it in forever, but my buddy looked at me, and most of the classes that I was in would consist of the guys in the class goading me to say something inappropriate loudly, and so they were like, "Hey, dude, let's have a straight up throwback, bro. Let's play the penis game." And I was like, all right, fine, you go first. And he was like, penis. Just like hit it little. All right, yeah, I'll go first. Penis. Hit a little one. And I just went, penis! Like, I just yelled it immediately, screamed it as loud as I could. And
end of game.
End of game. Everybody fell out.
Nobody else tried to outshout you. That's weird.
Well, I mean, everybody was laughing too hard. All the guys immediately fell out of their chairs laughing. And I got in trouble, but I liked the thing that my parents told the school.
Surprised the teacher didn't try to one-up you.
Right? Yeah. In a public school, yeah.
Yeah.
Surprised.
I just want to fit in with the kids.
Yeah. Dude, that's
let them know
present.
Let them know that I'm their friend.
Right.
Their ally.
Cool.
I'm your ally. Penis!
Yeah. Spiking the mic, dude. 4 minutes in. Good morning. Hope you guys don't have headphones on.
I hope you do have headphones on. Not a safe intro for kids.
Yeah, I'll put that in the notes. That's really prevalent in public school, dude. Is teachers being? There was a teacher, and I'll say her name. I'll say her name because she was a messed up lady and deserves whatever she gets.
Oh, come on. We're going to dox somebody on
No,
this?
I won't do that.
Okay.
I will say so that if this ever gets big enough that somehow she hears it, she'll know who she is. But I mean, her name is I'll call her Miss L. She had several kids that went to the school, and she had a daughter that was in our grade, or was in my grade, and she was really involved in the social life of her daughter.
Oh no!
And it was she's like living her like living vicariously
through her daughter.
Living vicariously through her daughter, and had the like high school, middle school experience she wanted to have. I don't know how she didn't get fired. She her daughter dated this one boy, and then broke up with him and dated another boy, and I don't know how this transpired. Luckily, I was saved from this kind of malfeasance by being weird enough that no one wanted to include me deeply in their friendships. So I was somewhat of an outcast. So I wasn't directly involved in this interaction.
Just
but I was
shouting penis too loudly
Right.
too often.
Yes, yeah, and
He's funny, but I don't know if I want to tell
exactly.
him about my relationships.
Yeah. So there came this conflict, and it was all surrounding the journalism class for the school paper, because all these kids were in this journalism class that I was in, and what happened? The kid, so she broke up with this one guy, started dating this other guy, and at some point, some sort of tension arose from this love triangle, and Mrs. L, her grand problem-solving solution to this issue was to take a picture of her like 13-year-old daughter in some measure of undress, whether it was like a swimsuit or her underwear or something, in the arms of the new boy in like a bathtub when he didn't have a shirt on. And she took a picture of them, and there was a whiskey bottle in the like next to them, like the implication that they had been drinking together and were now in this like state of undress, and sent it to this other boy. Now this is like an almost 40-year-old woman sending this stuff to like 13-year-olds.
This is a truly messed up woman.
It is an insanely messed up woman, and she was like vindictive and
what a nasty creature.
Yeah, it was very, very strange. And she was ugly and really fat, but she was like the kind of fat, I don't know, but there's like soft fat, and then there's like hard fat. You get like old guys that get that like beer gut kind of hard belly fat, like working guy, hard fat,
There's still muscle around it.
Yeah, there's something. Somehow this fat is just like, there's a big gut there.
Not jiggly.
Yeah, but it just stays perfect. It's like a stone. It stays totally static. And this one was covered in this pillowy, very gelatin-like movable fat. And she was big fat lady and very ugly. And she would try to flirt with the like more handsome young football players, like in middle school. So it wasn't even like a high school guy kind of thing. It was like she would let the young middle school guys like come into her class and just like chill, like skip their own classes or whatever. And that was like a common thing. You would go up to your teacher and be like, "Hey, I'm done with all my work here. I've got something to do for the school paper. Can I go to Miss L's classroom and do it?" And then you would just go sit in there and not do anything. Yeah, she was a strange woman. And there was a lot of that. Public schools are nasty, nasty places. You should not ever go to a public school, and you should do everything you have to do. Make less money if it means your wife has to stay home to keep your kids at a public school. It doesn't, that's like a extremely important thing that you have to do, is keep your kids out of public school.
Crucial.
Yeah.
Find a way. Downsize your house.
Yeah. Sell a car. I don't care how. That has to be a top priority.
Or don't have kids if you're not willing to raise them yourself.
Yeah, yes. Yeah, right. Exactly.
If you're going to turn them over to that system, you are not raising them.
Right. You are not being a good steward of what God has given you. So yeah, I mean, but listen, kids got to get an education too. Just make sure that they get a good education. But they're not getting educated in a public school, by the way.
Say they're getting an indoctrination and maybe getting predatorized.
Yeah, they're almost definitely getting predatorized. The first place I ever experienced violence was in a public school. The political commentator and noted Jew. I'm just kidding. He is a Jewish guy, but he's on our side. He's very funny, and I do like him. But his name is Michael Malice, and he has a one of the things that he says is that the American public school is often the first and only place American citizens will ever experience violence.
Interesting.
And so you got to keep that in mind. But yeah, there's our 10 minutes.
All right.
So nice. We hit the dogged on public school.
Always worth the time.
Always worth the time.
Never get tired of it.
Never get tired of it. I love dogging on public schools. I mean, just the number one aggregator of child misery, state schools. So today we're going to talk about the book Plot Activity by Doug Wilson. I have kind of a subtopic, I guess, I want to talk about.
Yeah.
That I think is the one that I really was thinking of when I brought this up, but the book covers that topic very well. And so I figured talking about plot activity in general would be a better way, because Doug Wilson's obviously way more intelligent than like you and I combined. So tapping into his genius is probably a little bit better than us like trying to
hash it out.
But the plot activity, I think you could probably sum up the thesis of the book, or the thing that Wilson is asserting here, is that work is best done in little increments. And that's what I was really thinking about.
Okay.
I used to get, even up until recently, till my late 20s, I think, I used to get really spun out. One of the reasons why I didn't really tackle hyper premium earlier on is because the end goal, the thing that I wanted, seemed like such a gigantic, incomprehensible task.
Yeah.
That there was just no way I was ever going to actually do it. And so I didn't start. Yeah. And it wasn't until, but yeah, again, like in my late 20s, and I think this is probably true for every guy, like you really don't start getting things done at least until your late 20s. It might be till your 30s, like your early 30s, that you start getting really productive.
In this society we have, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I guess I'll rephrase that. You probably do get some stuff done in your early 20s and mid 20s. You're probably productive, but you're not generative, if that makes sense. Like
you're working on, like you're working delivering pizzas or something.
Yeah, or putting up siding on houses or whatever. Like
right.
you're being productive. It's just on other people's stuff.
Well, yeah, you got to have a period of skill build, and we've talked about that as building skill, and you don't build skill as easily or as well if you're starting from scratch and building it all from the ground up.
Right.
It's better to learn from a mentor.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
So sometimes that mentorship comes in working multiple part-time jobs in different areas and gathering the skills you need and experience you need to then be able to finally, when you're in your later 20s or early 30s, kick out on your own, and you have a little bit of capital hopefully built up to do it with.
Right. Yeah. So I would say, yeah, you're a worker and you've got a lot of energy, so you can get a lot done in your early 20s. But I don't think you'll know, like I didn't, at least, and I don't really know anybody. I've never talked to anybody in their early 20s who's had this, but and obviously there's exceptions to this rule, but I think it's a pretty good general rule, which is that you're probably really not going to know what your like quote unquote like life's work is going to be like pre-25.
I've been thinking about that with our kids, and thinking about that. I didn't know.
Yeah.
Well, I shouldn't say that. I knew my life goal was to have a family.
Yeah.
And I didn't care so much what form my work took. I remember there was some great uncle I had. I don't remember if I ever met him or not, but I think he had said, "You got to make a happy buck." That was a saying.
Yeah.
And I've gone back and forth on that a little bit. because sometimes you're not making a happy buck, but you need to be joyful about it all the same and glorify God in the work that you have been given to do, even if you currently dislike it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like last week, I very much disliked the work I was doing.
Yeah. No way.
I had a hard time.
Enjoy
I had a hard time being joyful.
working in people's attics in August in Texas.
Yeah.
That's strange. I don't know why you wouldn't
It was
love that.
It was a strain on my
Dude, the
spiritual life.
I can imagine. Dude. I can imagine. The Mexicans that I box with and train with, their dad owns a AC company.
Yeah.
They do it in hoodies.
You know what I've heard? Okay.
It's the most bizarre thing I've ever seen. Dude, they'll come they run from their house, they'll run the loop before the gym. It's a dozen miles every day. They'll run it before the gym. Class starts at 6 p.m. So they're running a dozen miles in 100-degree weather every day, and they'll run up covered in sweat, but they'll be wearing like sweaters and sweatpants.
Yeah.
And then they'll get into the AC in the gym and be like, "I'm cold, man. This is cold. I don't like this." It's crazy. It's the wildest thing.
Well, I got a buddy who you almost never see him not in blue jeans, and I don't think he owns a pair of shorts. I may have seen him in a pair of shorts recently and laughed because I had never seen him in shorts before. He's that much in blue jeans. Lives in blue jeans, leather shoes, and flannel long sleeve shirts.
That's insane.
That are maybe rolled up part way,
Crazy.
And his point was like when he'd work construction and things like that, say talk to guys who, if you don't want that super leathery skin that you see in the those ladies and men who spend their entire lives shirtless or sunbathing and they're just leather by the time they're 65. He said, if you don't want to have that kind of unhealthy body when you're older, you wear cover up. You wear long sleeves, and he said you really don't get that much more hot, but your skin's not like baking.
Yeah.
So it's a protection against
okay.
the direct
I guess once
sunlight.
you start sweating, it doesn't matter.
Right.
You just are going to be the temperature.
So I can see that, and I've thought about doing maybe more of that.
Interesting.
Trying that out. Because it really does feel sometimes like your skin is just, you can feel it burning at a certain point when you're outside too long. So
yeah.
I might try that, wearing loose long sleeve shirts just as a
protection.
Yeah.
So productivity. The idea here is what I was originally saying was that I didn't start work on Hyper Premium, and a big part of that was because I was intimidated by the task, and it wasn't until I don't necessarily think that it was this book that really flipped the switch for me. I don't know what it was, but at some point I realized that the way to achieve something big, and that's relative, whatever. Something big for you might be something that I consider just like totally huge or small. It doesn't matter. But to achieve something big for you, the way to do that is to have a moment where you set the goal, and you have this ideation period and brainstorming and figure out what it is you want at the end of this journey, and then you put that to the side and just don't ever think about it again, unless you're forced to in order to reevaluate and pick a new plan. But put that goal out and then focus on the little tasks, like the
determine step one.
Right. Determine step one, get step one out of the way, then focus on step two. Like this project we're doing with Hyper Premium, the web series that we're making, seems, I can't think about the end result. I literally just can't think about it. I'll start to procrastinate. I'll get stressed out.
Right.
So I just focus on like the next time I have to get everybody together to move the ball forward. That's all I focus on. And so it's just like these little steps. And even then, like there'll be days where I'm like exhausted, whatever. And it's just like, trying to get this meeting together and get everybody in a writing room and, figure out cameras and all this stuff. It's just like, it's too much. So I'll just focus on like anytime I start to feel overwhelmed, I check down. Okay. You're not going to focus on the task of getting everybody together, you're going to focus on the task of sending that first email. And just get that first email out.
Yeah.
And then just let that, and that it's going to take everybody a couple days to respond.
Chip away at it.
Yeah, just let that be. Send that email. Go back to doing something else. Maybe play some video games, whatever you want to do. Just get that email sent. Let that sit. Don't think about the greater task of getting the meeting together. And then just, and just, if you can just keep chipping away at it, you can just keep the ball moving forward, everything will start to come together. And so you really have to.
You'll look back after weeks or months and be like, oh, look what I accomplished. I didn't notice because it was just so slow moving.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And we have this, another example is that we have this, we're building a rabbit colony. And so we're burying,
wire mesh.
Yeah, we're burying wire mesh in the ground so that animals can't dig and the rabbits can't dig out. And it's probably going to be 30 or 40 feet of trench that I have to dig when it's all said and done. And I'm not a physical laborer, so it's just getting out there even in the morning it's still hot and humid. And so I get exhausted. I'm not conditioned for it. So I just get really tired very quickly. And so I've just settled with the fact that it's not going to happen all at once. So I've just been going out there every morning and just digging a few feet.
Yeah.
And that way I've gotten like 12 feet of this thing dug.
Yeah.
That's
now, great.
Yeah, it's going to take me
without killing yourself.
Right, without killing myself. I do a little bit of it before work. I go, oh, cool, got a little bit of workout in. Mm-hmm. Spend 30, 45 minutes digging. Go take a shower, eat some eggs, go to the office. So,
and it feels good to sit down at your desk.
Yeah, it feels great to sit down at my desk. And if I tried, the alternative is if I try to do it all at once, I wouldn't do it, and so it just wouldn't get done. And so now it's getting done like quote unquote slower, but it's not really getting done slower. It's getting done infinitely quicker because you just wouldn't be doing it if you didn't do it in small bits.
Anything's quicker getting done than not doing it at all.
Yeah. So there's a couple other things in productivity that I think Wilson mentions that are important, but one of the things is he talks about technology and using and seeing it as a tool and not being scared of it. But that's a dead horse we have beaten thoroughly on Work Hard. So there's no reason to dig into that here. You guys can go back to those earlier episodes and see that. Maybe in the future we'll bring it back up, but yeah, I think mostly the thing that's really important to talk about here is this like doing things in increments, chipping away at stuff. Doug Wilson talks about how people are often impressed by the just sheer volume of books he can read.
Right.
And he talks about how he reads them 2 pages at a time, 2 pages a day. And he'll read like 3 or 4 books at a time, 2 pages a day. And so he really is only reading like 8 to 16 pages a day. Yeah. But over the course of a year, all of a sudden he's read like several dozen books.
Yeah.
Like it just works out that way. And it's like
he's just diligent about smaller increments.
Right. And
the other thing is taking up, instead of going, I got to set aside an hour and a half to be able to read properly.
Right.
He's taking, I remember the introduction or the foreword is by Rebecca Merkel, his daughter. So the thing that I remember most about this book actually is the foreword.
Yeah.
I haven't read it I read it maybe last year or 2 years ago. But
yeah.
Her impression of how well her dad filled his time was the biggest standout to me.
Yeah.
I guess he must have an office very close to the house because it was like a 3-minute commute.
Yeah.
And I think she said he would listen to audio of like War and Peace or some long novel that he was working his way through, or Tale of Two Cities, something like that. But he'd listen to like 3 minutes of it every day on the way to work.
Yeah.
It's like, so what seems like an almost useless amount of time,
he would find a way to make it.
He'd find a way to make it useful. And I think that you can go overboard and stress out a lot about that.
Yes.
But I think the lesson to take away from that, the lesson I've taken away from it, is that there is lots of little filler time where you would normally, what would you do in a normal amount of time in this day and age if you had 5 minutes of downtime? What is the first thing the average American would do?
Look at your phone.
Look at your phone.
Yeah.
Oh, check it. For any particular reason? No.
Nope.
Out of boredom and looking for a dopamine hit.
Right.
But instead, if you carry a book around with you and you go, I'm going to read half a page while I wait for this whatever.
Yeah.
While I wait for the microwave to heat up my food, I'm going to just read a book.
Or compromise, dude. Just put Kindle on your phone.
Oh, there you go.
And just read it.
So it's always with you.
Yes, it's always with you, and
Yes.
you get to look at your phone.
I love the pages better, but it is hard to carry one around.
Right. Yeah.
So it might not be immediately accessible to you in those little times.
Yeah, a physical book will always be aesthetically more pleasing,
Mm-hmm.
and the feel, the smell, it will always be better
The whole
in every
thing.
way. But
Can you imagine a time before they had books?
no, I wouldn't have gotten through whatever education I had to get through at that time. I guess there wouldn't have been any education, but
Well, it would have been oral. And
yeah,
not 12 years of it.
yeah, right. I used to destroy books, dude, in school.
Did you?
Because I would sit and read. I wouldn't even pay attention in class. I would just sit and read whatever book I had.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it got me through school. I would get intentionally placed in school suspension, so that I could sit and finish a book uninterrupted. I wouldn't have to go anywhere for the entire day. I could just sit there for 8 hours and read
That's
a book.
funny. The system backfired with you.
Yeah, it did.
They're like, we'll punish him by putting him by himself in a quiet place. And you're like, thank goodness.
Yeah, I could just read this book.
Loophole.
Yeah. Nice break from entertaining the class, distracting everybody from whatever fake lesson we're going to learn today.
That's a hard job.
It is a hard job. There's a lot of responsibility being the class clown. The productivity thing, and I think productivity, it's plotting. He's plotting along. Your little step by step.
Yes, in case we didn't cover that.
Right.
The title is very Dougie.
Right.
I was listening to a slew of Blog and Mablog YouTube videos the other day while Will and I were painting the side of Jesse's house.
Yeah.
And so we were just like sitting there and chuckling about his fantastic, hilarious writing.
Yeah.
And at one point I was like, nobody can Doug like Doug.
Nobody can Doug like Doug. That's very true. Nobody can Doug like Doug. Lewis might be able to Doug a little bit better than Doug.
Sure. And Doug won't even, in one of the episodes, he's like, I'm not comparing myself to any of these greats, including Lewis.
Yeah.
So he's not even comparing himself to Lewis. Lewis is incredible.
I mean, one of the greatest writers of all time. My literary hero.
Narnia is one of, if not
Astounding.
top notch. It's in top 3.
Yeah. And so productivity is obviously a combination of the word plod.
Plodding along, so the slow, methodical. It's the hare.
Right.
I'm sorry, it's the tortoise and the
Right.
tortoise and the hare. Just moving along at a steady but slow pace. It's the slow and steady wins the race approach.
Yeah.
If you go mad dashes like the hare, wear yourself out. It even says it on the back here. It says, plod, don't sprint. Be fruitful like a tree, not efficient like a machine. Use the gifts that God has given you. Be fruitful like a tree and not efficient like a machine. Efficiency is the god of
capitalism.
American capitalism.
I think of just capitalism in general.
Sure, yes. But Americans are built on efficiency.
Yeah.
Other countries, older countries, the French, the Italians, they have a much more developed sense of like family time and celebration and food preparation and things like that. They take a lot more time over their food prep and so what I'm saying, their heritage, the world knows French cooking.
Yeah, I think the world knows French cooking. I would not say that the French spend any time with family, though.
Okay, what I'm saying
But
is
the
that
Italians,
what I'm saying is that they at least spend a lot more time on things that could be done more efficiently. French cooking's not efficient.
Yeah.
Italian
It's artisanal.
family time is not efficient, right?
Right.
Almost everything in America is dictated by how efficient is it.
Yeah.
How quickly and cheaply can we get this done? Can I get my family time done cheaply and also multitask by getting a little work done at the same time?
Right.
That's the struggle here on this family farm that we're trying to do is what Emily and I struggle with is how can we get anything done and also include the kids?
Right.
Because they're young and they need an incredible amount of training and it's a huge distraction more often than not.
Yeah.
So it's like, how do we actually raise any food, not have it trampled or destroyed? It's like, it's... I remember that was so frustrating when Annabelle was a toddler. Our oldest was a toddler, just being like, oh, if she's in the garden, it might be the end of the garden.
Yeah.
But we want her to be with us.
She needs to be in the garden, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So how do you do this?
Yeah.
And so I think that's what that makes me think of. This little quote on the back of the book is, be fruitful like a tree, not efficient like a machine.
Yeah.
Efficiency is going to kill your family time.
Yes. Yeah, efficiency, I would say efficiency, maybe I'm splitting hairs here, so I apologize if this is annoying. But efficiency in the wrong direction. If you're being efficient with what in the way God wants you to be efficient, then you're going to be you're going to maximize family time. Yeah, diligent maybe.
I think maybe diligent is the word you're looking for.
Okay.
If we want to just define terms. Efficient,
because
I think it just means doing something as quickly and inexpensively as possible.
Yeah, I guess when I think about efficiency, like in work, in relation to family time, I think about like if you can efficiently get a lot done, then you are buying more time with your family.
But I'm saying with the actual family time itself.
Yeah. Okay.
If you try to be efficient with your family time.
Yes, you're saying if the goal of your family time is efficiency.
Yeah, how do I get this done as quickly and cheaply as possible?
Okay. Now we're on the same way. Right. So efficiency is not...
it has nothing to do with family time.
Right, it's not an appropriate...
Because it is time spent.
Right, exactly.
So family time should not be efficient.
Yes.
It is the antithesis of efficiency to spend time with your family.
Right.
But it's diligence and it's fruitfulness.
Yeah.
And it's what matters far more than efficiency.
Yes.
And money making and whatever else.
Okay.
That's where we're getting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Now we're on the same page.
But yes, I agree. So if you're able to be efficient in your work and godly in it and a good steward of it, so you have more time with your family.
Yeah.
Or if you're... I think what I'm talking about is because my wife and I want to make our work family based, and we want to have a family economy to where we all work together. That's difficult. It's a challenge to figure out how to do that with multiple ages of small children.
Right.
How do we possibly set ourselves up to support ourselves while at the same time involving everybody on some level?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so it's a bit of a pioneering enterprise because it hasn't been done for a long time.
Right.
But it used to be the norm, so it can be done. I believe fundamentally it can be done. I don't think anybody would get rich doing it.
I think you're right. I think it absolutely fundamentally can be done, and maybe you can't, maybe you won't get rich doing it, but I don't know. Maybe that's. I guess we'll see. You're going to do it, so we'll find out.
We'll find out. If I get rich, then
we'll know.
Then we'll know.
Yeah.
Hey, everybody. If you just work with your toddlers, you get rich.
Yeah.
Jason did it.
Of
course, they were all 30 by the time he got rich.
Now he owns a fleet of Tacomas, Volt Tacomas. and a really old tractor that doesn't break. That's Jason flexing on everyone, is owning an old tractor that doesn't break.
An elderly tractor.
Yeah. Yeah. So the one of the things that Wilson talks about, I think because he derives a lot of this from his experience, and obviously he does a lot of writing professionally, and so he talks about writing as one of the examples that he uses in the book, and I used to be a real stickler. There's a quote, I forgot who said this. It was some famous writer said that an 8-hour writing session is very different from 2 4-hour writing sessions.
Oh, I bet so. Because you got that break in between.
Well, he was saying that an 8-hour writing session is way better.
Oh, okay.
An uninterrupted 8-hour writing session is way better than 2 4-hour sessions.
Depending on what you're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, so writing session, I could see that because you get in the flow of it, right? You get in the groove. Is that what he's saying?
Yeah, I think that's probably the case.
You get in the mindset of an artist.
I don't know. But here's what I'll say is I used to really put a lot of weight in that idea.
Oh, okay.
And so I would do 8-hour writing sessions once every 6 months and then not write ever in between those sessions.
I see. Because it took so long to get up the guts and time.
Yeah, it's and it's very hard to stay focused like that And I really sincerely believe that human beings only have about 4 hours of truly productive work in them a day. And I don't think that it matters what you're doing. I think that you think that you're working for the full 8 hours, and you probably are working. Really, you are working for the full 8
You're
hours.
doing something.
But at that 4 hour part, you have a significant reduction in
drop off.
in your rate of your return of your work.
Yeah, either mental capacity or physical.
Yeah,
Either
exactly.
You're worn out one way or the other.
Right. And if you're a trade guy, it's like, well, I work all day, whatever. Like, no, you don't, dude. You spend 2 hours in the car driving to job to job. And you take a lunch break, don't you? For 30 minutes, for an hour, whatever. And you take smoke breaks or water breaks, whatever. Add all that time up in the day, dude. You're not working full 10 hours. You're not. And then you factor in the fact that you are getting tired at the end of the day. You got cleanup. You got all this stuff where it's like, are you really going ham? Like, if you really think about your day, like the vast majority of the stuff that you get done in the day.
So what you're talking about is actually moving forward in the project. You're canceling out anything. You're not including in the work anything that's not directly
or just
building the cabinets or whatever.
Or just like, I guess I am kind of in that way, but I'm also like, I'm saying like, it's not that at the 4 hour mark, all progress stops. It's just that there's a significant reduction in the progress.
I would agree with that in general.
Yeah. And so I really don't think that you can do, an 8 hour writing session and have half of the stuff you write be that good. Or at 4 hours, the only other way to do that is at 4 hours, you slow way down in how much you're actually writing. But what I will say is that I took Doug's concept, and he says, just write 100 words a day. At the end of the year, you will have a novel. So just write 100 words a day. And once I heard that, I was like, okay, I'm going to do that. I'm going to try that. And my writing has been way more consistent. In the past few months, I've written almost tens of thousands of words.
Cool.
Just doing 100 words a day. And that's the thing that's like so beautiful about that is that it turns this thing that's like scary and intimidating into something that's fun. And then you like, if you have the humility, and this is one, so I want to put a pin in this thing about humility, but if you have the humility, so I want to circle back to that in a minute, but if you have the humility to check down to a smaller task, you may even get to a place at the end of the task where you don't want to stop. But if you have the discipline to cut off where you said you were going to cut off, you will start to over time build this desire to do it. And all of a sudden it's like, oh yeah, instead of being like, I got to write my words today, 6 months into writing 100 words a day every day, all of a sudden you'll be like, bet, got my words. Let's do it. You might like be like starting your day at the top with your 100 words, hitting it, and then being like, all right, I got to stop. I said I was going to stop.
Yeah.
And then it becomes this thing that you really love. And to circle back to the humility thing, I think this is something that Wilson does not mention in the book. I don't know if he's aware of this, but this is a Jordan Peterson thing, which is that you have to, the reason people do not do this, they don't check down, they don't set small enough goals for themselves, is because of pride. They think that they are above writing 100 words a day, or they think that that's not the. If I was a real performer,
right,
I'd be doing 1,000 words a day. If I was a real writer, if I was a real grinder, a real hard worker, then I'd be doing 1,000 words a day. And you can have that little thought in your head, keep it if you want, and then write nothing. Enjoy it. You're a real writer now, aren't you? Thinking about how you should be writing 1,000 words a day, that little thought in your head. Fool. I'm just saying, I'm sorry, I'm getting emotional because I was like that. And I had so many, I have three really good story ideas that I'm going to write. One of them I'm working on pretty diligently right now, but then I'll probably be done writing after that. One of them I'm going to take 10 years to write.
Okay.
But I have three good story ideas, and I think that's probably what most people have in them.
It's 3 good story ideas.
Yeah, probably 3 or 4 good story ideas. Like, you're not Hemingway, right? You're not going to just crank out.
Well, you can see that with good authors too.
Right. Like
They might go to ghost authors after that, where
Right.
they're not actually the one writing their novels.
Yeah, they're just putting a name on it. And I mean, how many actual fiction narratives did Lewis write? He wrote Narnia. He wrote
Paralandra.
he wrote the Space Odyssey.
Mm-hmm.
And then what else? What other fiction books did he write? Is that it?
Well, he wrote with the Screw Tape Letters. If you want, it's
Yeah.
not a novel.
Yeah, but
it's an unusual. I mean, it's fictional.
Yeah, but it's an unusual way to express an idea.
Yes,
But it is kind of a fiction.
very effective. Though.
Very effective.
Yeah.
And I mean, Tolkien wrote one story. It ended up spanning several books, but he wrote one story.
No, he wrote other smaller books. He wrote a lot of short stories, actually.
But really?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Remind me, I'll give you one on my shelf. You'll love it.
They're not Lord of the Rings related?
No.
Oh, interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah, there's one called Farmer Giles of Ham. It's a twofer. It comes with Smith of Wootton Major.
Yeah.
Which is a story about, and I'm not going to get into it. Too hard to explain anyway.
Yeah.
But the Farmer Giles of Ham is hilarious.
Okay.
It's about a farmer who's kind of forced into a hero's position. Doesn't really want to be. Has to fight a dragon. Does not want to.
Okay. That sounds about right.
It's very funny though. My kids, after I read it to them, like ask for it and plead for it.
Oh, good.
It's
That's
that
awesome.
good. It's a great adult and child story.
Good. Those are the best.
Mhm.
That's why C.S. Lewis is one of the greatest writers of all
C.S. Lewis
time.
is fantastic. That's why Narnia is the best.
That's how you know a book is good, by the way, is when it's truly great for kids and adults.
And that's why I try and curate the children's, even the picture books.
Yeah.
Like I try and curate that so that it's like, well, I don't want it to be something I hate reading.
Right. And
I want to enjoy story time too.
there are there are exceptions to that rule. Like one of my favorite authors is David Wolfe, who wrote the Book of the New Sun. And he's a fiction writer who's written a lot of stuff, but even still, like the Book of the New Sun is like his magnum opus. It's like everything else leading up to that was practice.
Okay.
So it's like really in his head, he had these ideas, but really, what was he doing? Really, he had one idea, and everything else was really kind of in service to that idea, and it all manifested in the Book of the New Sun, which is like maybe the greatest science fiction series ever written. It's like one of the most insane, profound. Dude, just
right.
do guys, do yourselves a favor. Book of the New Sun, all 40 of it. What are we at? We're at like 40. Did I say we're at 40 subscribers across all platforms now?
I thought you said 30.
I said 30.
Okay.
Or something like that. But yeah, all 30 or 40 of you. Book of the New Sun, fantastic series. Man, I could go on and on about that one. But that took him, I think that took his entire life to write.
Yeah.
He was writing that his entire life. And I could be wrong about that. I mean, it at least took a decade or something like that. I don't remember what he said, how long it took him. But it took Tolkien almost his entire life to write Lord of the Rings.
Not surprising.
Yeah. And obviously, like, Lewis wrote a ton of stuff. But the stories that he wrote, he probably had, only a few ideas. So, anyways, what were we? Oh, the humility thing. Humility.
Setting smaller goals.
Yeah, setting smaller
achievable goals.
Yeah, achievable goals. So this is like like I said, it's a Jordan Peterson thing, or at least I heard it from Jordan Peterson back when Jordan Peterson was good and not.
I would say it's a multi-tiered goal though, right? So that's key. You're not setting a small goal and going, well, I finished that and I'm done.
Right.
The small goal is in service to completing larger chunks, which are then parts of larger chunks than that.
Right. It's layered.
It's
And so I would even say the
like
way that
a cake.
Yeah, like a cake or an onion.
Ogres. Onions. There's a throwback for you.
Yeah. Dang it! What was I going to say? Dang it! Oh, it's gone. That's okay. It's okay. I was going to say the way I break it down in my head is like you have goals and tasks. And so you have your goal, which is the thing you're trying to achieve. I'm trying to start a digital broadcast company.
Your mission statement?
My mission, is Hyper Premium is going to be a multimedia digital broadcast company. That's the goal.
Okay.
I have these tasks. Record with Jason on Saturday. Edit. Post. recruit new podcasters, create web series. Those are all tasks, right? And then the tasks, you have subtasks that break down further and further, but you have to have the humility to check down. And it's really strange because I didn't have that humility for so long, and I still really am bothered by it. Because in my head, I'm just like, I'm magnanimous. I'm Ethan. I'm the productive man. I'm worker bee. And so like, I have to have real come to Jesus moments where I'm honest with myself about what I can achieve. And because I am like a left brain creative type, working a ton is just not in the cards for me. And so I have to have like large swaths of my day have to be dominated by giving myself time to think about stuff. So not doing anything or occupying my hands so that I don't get bored while my mind's going. And that's where video games can sometimes be helpful, but most of the time it's just sitting. I spend a lot of time just sitting.
Yeah. Is it just kind of resting your mind, or is it meditating?
Yeah.
Or is it planning?
Meditating and resting, I would say.
Okay.
But also it's a lot because so much of because I write using a computer, and then my job requires a ton of
computer,
being on the computer. And then my number one leisure activity is playing video games, which is obviously takes place on the computer. Which I have a funny story about that we can wrap this up with.
Okay.
So there's a lot of time that I stop working just so my eyes don't start watering, because looking at a blue screen all day is terrible for you. I have to use eye drops because the ducts in my eyes that secrete the oil that protect your eyes have calcified from how much I've looked at screens.
Oh dear.
Yeah. Yeah. I just, it's one of those things. You grew up with LED screens. You just don't know until later in life. Now everybody knows how toxic screen exposure can be. So you retroactively go about fixing it. But anyways, that's neither here nor there. We're digressing. So have the humility to set these smaller goals for yourself. And again, that's a big personal struggle for me. So I'm like right there with you guys if that's what you struggle with. But it is like, I can even feel the peace and like relaxation hitting me as I'm thinking about this. When you have those moments where you are able to achieve that humility, it is so relieving to be like, I'm tired. I'm a human being. I have a finite amount of actual focus that I can summon. I'm going to just write my 100 words. I'm going to set that as the goal. And like when you have that humility and then you have that moment where you're like, all right, every day I'm going to write 100 words, the peace and the relief you will feel is pretty profound in my experience. When you go from being like, I have to write 1,000 words a day or I'm not a good person.
Beating yourself up about it.
Yeah, to like releasing that and being
it's
like,
a recipe for depression.
Yeah, oh my goodness, dude. Oh my goodness. Yeah, you can really.
And then before you know it, you're microdosing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Just to not feel crappy.
Yeah. You're doing anything you can to escape. You can also use this. I don't think Wilson talks about this in the book. At least I don't remember it. The last time I read it was a few months ago, so it should be pretty fresh in my mind if it was there. So if I don't remember it, I'm saying I don't think it's in the book. He doesn't talk about this, but you can use this same strategy for developing habits. So if you want to start working out every day, my suggestion to you is not to go to the gym and get a membership and I'm going to work out for 1 hour every day at this time and I'm going to lift weights and it's going to hurt. My suggestion to you is to go spend $50 to buy a kettlebell and do 100 kettlebell swings every day. Work out for 10 minutes.
There you go.
And in a year, you will be working out for an hour every day consistently. And it will be just a part of your life that you enjoy. But just understand that it's going to take a year. It might take 2.
Build up.
Yeah, build up. And so you can do that with habits too, little by little, building those habits, ingraining them into you. You just need to make sure that you're enjoying whatever it is you're doing. And that same principle of like, you do it a little bit and you want to just make sure that you stop doing the thing while you still want to be doing it. That's very important.
Say that again.
So
You stop doing the thing.
yeah, every day.
Oh, I'm sorry. I got you. Okay.
Yeah.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
So that you want to continue.
So that you want to continue.
So your last memory of it is not burnout.
Right, exactly. So you want to have to get yourself to stop doing it.
So it's like using the trick that authors do of leaving cliffhanger endings on every chapter.
Exactly. Yeah.
So that you don't go, I'm satisfied, and
Right.
then never pick up the book again halfway through.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't need to know how the story ends. That was a good chapter.
Yeah. Nice little bow on the end of that one.
My children we're reading through a book called Mrs. Frisbee and the Rats of Nim,
Okay.
which is a great book. And yeah, everything is a cliffhanger. Every chapter. Oh, one more chapter, please, because we read it at bedtime. It's like the last thing they get to hear
Yes.
before we say goodnight to them, and they just beg for it. And I'm like, this is what novels are like.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. And so leave little cliffhangers for yourself in life. I had a mentor, or have a mentor, and he told me a story once about how his first foyer into martial arts, he got really into it and was getting like super autistic about it, and would go home and he'd get done with his class.
It still cracks me up you using the word autistic to mean intense.
Yeah.
Or like really into something.
Yeah.
Really autistic about video games, man.
I do get very autistic about video games.
Anyway, I'm sorry. Continue. I'm sure you love me interrupting you all the time.
No, I do. Yes. It's part of the reason why I've got a partner in general. Dude,
to get interrupted all the time.
If you want to really torture yourself, listen to that first episode of Maximum Alert.
Oh, really?
Dude, it's so it's way better than like when I was trying to do this alone, because it's way more structured.
Right.
Because I'm going topic by topic, and I've like written out some thoughts before I dive in.
Okay.
So it's way
not
better,
rambling.
but it's still painful. Like I got to the end of it, I was like, that is bad. But it's part of the reason why I started that, was to get better at the monologue, doing it by myself. So it's okay. Like I knew going in that was going to be bad, and I say it multiple times in that first episode. Like, guys, just bear with me. I promise this is going to get better and better. Yeah. But what were we saying? Now you did it, Jason. You knocked me off my path.
I'll go back to a solo episode.
Yeah,
solo podcast now.
Yeah. Habits. You can use habits. You can use this on habits. Autistic. Oh yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
My mentor's story. My mentor's story. So he told me that he was getting really autistic about the classes he was taking. So he'd come home and he'd train by himself. And then he told the teacher there, the coach, this is what I'm doing. And the coach was like, why? And he was like, I don't know. I love it. I want to get better. And he was like, do not do that. I set this class for an hour for a reason. Do not go home and do this. You need to have discipline. Come here, do it, be done when you're done. And he was like, oh,
sorry.
Yeah, all right. And
thought you would encourage me to continue practicing outside of class.
No, but the coach was like very adamant that it was like the number one way, if you want to keep doing this forever, the number one way to not do that, to ensure that you will quit, is to go home and do it more.
Burn yourself out.
Right. And so that really stuck with me.
That is a really good point.
Yeah. So habits, you can do that too. But I mean, I think those are the things I wanted to cover. Do you have any thoughts? Any addendums you want to make here? We're at 53 minutes, by the way.
53 minutes. All right.
We're almost done.
Very nice.
And we do have to, because we're doing these double headers now, guys, we're going to have to like pretty strictly hold to that hour.
I'm sure they're really disappointed about that.
I'm sure, yeah.
My wife was listening to an episode the other day because she had some car time without the kids, or with only the baby.
Yeah.
And so she was listening to one, and she's like, it's almost an hour and a half. She's like, it's so long. She's like, I haven't even finished listening to it yet.
Well, you got to do it incrementally, dude.
Oh, which means yeah, exactly. Plod through it, hon.
Yeah.
Listen to the latest episode, babe.
Yeah, take 10 minutes at a time.
Anyway, I need I asked her if she had any like feedback or whatever. She's like, yes, I do. And it was all about me. So don't worry. No criticism about you. It was
That's good. I don't know if I could handle it.
It was that I think I told a very detailed story and named one of my children in it. And so that child is also a pretty sensitive child. And so she obviously if she ever hears this, it'll be a long time in the future.
Yeah.
And in my way of thinking, she'll look back on it and be like, oh yeah, I was that way.
Mm.
And kind of be like, oh, that was funny or whatever. And it was, but I just want to say an apology to future Miriam and be more cautious myself about telling detailed family stories with names attached anyway.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
I think the focus of the story was maybe more about how I was dealing with it, but in
Yes.
any case, it painted her in a bad light.
Well,
in a vulnerable time, which is
yeah.
not kind.
Yeah.
So, anyway.
So,
you had something you wanted to wrap up with.
oh yeah. So I, this story kind of, but I'll catch people up. My computer. So I have a big, expensive gaming computer. The motherboard went out on it, which is a huge problem. If you have to replace the motherboard, if it's if the computer's even 2 years old, it's just the whole computer has to go. So,
because they just move so quickly, they don't have that one anymore.
well, yeah,
making it.
and so it's just a real pain in the butt to replace a motherboard. And so I pay. I think I've mentioned this before because I like to spike electronics and break them all the time because none of them work, and so it makes me feel very good to destroy them. I pay $25 a month to have all the electronics in our house insured. And so it broke, and it was going to cost me like at least a couple grand to get a comparable computer. But I sent it into this place. It cost me $100 to have them fix it. And it came back, and it seemed like it was fixed. And,
oh, no.
And then this weekend it started messing up again in the same way. And there's this game called Hunt Showdown that me and my buddy from high school, my best friend, like my most beloved personal relationship outside of my family. During COVID, we were both unemployed and could not find a job. And so we spent, 10 hours a day playing this game together. And we built this crew of guys who all played it with us. And it's just been this way. It's just very sentimental because it's been this way for me and my like brother to stay connected. And, they just basically released Hunt 2 this weekend.
Okay.
A huge update, new engine, new map, new boss, new guns. Like it's basically Hunt 2. They're not calling it that, and they gave it to everybody for free. But
really,
yeah, that's
wow.
Crytek is the company, very good company, like very solid, good company. That's just like very focused on making a good product. And so we're playing. It was big. I took Friday off. I took Thursday and Friday off of work. We were going to play all day. My computer had been humming along, working just fine, and on Thursday it started crapping out, and so I just had to watch all my friends play it. I'm sitting in the voice chat. You can like stream in the voice chat. You can stream your game. So I'm just like sitting there on screen watching all my friends play it. I felt like a little kid who was grounded. Just sitting inside watching all my friends play on their bikes from the window. It was such a heartbreaking thing because it's just so rare that I do something like that, that I'm just like, I'm not working. I'm going to go in to say hi to my family, whatever, but I'm taking like 2 days to really be irresponsible and just have fun with this. And my computer, like almost right at the beginning, just started crapping out. And so I just, my boy that I play this game with, he's my computer guy. So he's an incredibly one of the most intelligent people I've ever met, and he's an IT person. And so he was just like, all right, dude, let's fix this. And so he and I for 48 hours were just like in between every single game, he'd tab out of whatever he was doing, start looking stuff up. This is what you can do. Let's get over here, whatever. And we were just trying to get this thing fixed. And I had done that before when it originally broke. And so we were just trying to get this computer fixed, and nothing was working. And he was just like, dude, if none of this works, it's your motherboard. And you are just out of luck. You were just hard out of luck. You're going to have to get a new computer. You're going to have to send it back into this insurance company. They're going to replace the motherboard. It's going to take weeks, whatever. You're out of commission. So we just tried all this different stuff, and I mean, going into like updating it doesn't matter. I'm not going to get into the logistics of it because that's boring. But we were going ham on this thing, like kernel level repair, trying to go deep, and it just nothing was fixing it, and it was just broken. And so yesterday afternoon, I was really sad, and I was just so bummed out. And I turned the computer on one last time to just see if I could maybe do something and turn some lights off or whatever. Maybe there's competing software and it's trying to reset, whatever. And so I just kind of throw this last Hail Mary and I turn the computer on and it doesn't even come on. Like the computer powers up, but the display won't even come up. Mm-hmm. And then this big bright light of death comes on my motherboard. That's like, the motherboard cannot make a connection to your GPU at all. And so I was like, well, that's it. It's just done. I'm just not even going to be able to turn the computer on anymore. So I got up, and I don't even remember really necessarily what I was doing, but I got up and I picked the computer up to just kind of see if maybe I could shift it around and, get a good connection to the graphics card. And I dropped it. The whole tower, I dropped it. And it is this, and I was praying. Important part is I was praying this whole time, all 48 hours. Every single time we tried something, I'd be like, Lord, please let this work. Please, please let this be the thing that fixes it. Like, I need this. And I drop, none of it works. And then I drop the computer and it's like, dude, this piece of equipment that I do all my work on it. I do all the hyper premium stuff. I play video games on, like, this thing is like at least half of my life. Spent thousands of dollars on this thing. It's top of the line, beautiful computer. And I drop it. And it's just, you hear this like, the cracking noise you'd never want to hear come from this thing, but all the plugs stayed on. So I dropped it. It hits the desk. Bad cracking noise. All the plugs stay in, and the white light just goes off, and the displays just turn on. And I'm standing there staring at it like. I don't want to touch it. It's like half hanging off the desk, and I'm like nervous. So I'm like, I don't want to touch it. I don't know what just happened. And so I just kind of like gently push it very gingerly all the way back onto the desk with like the tips of my fingers. And I just like sit down and I'm like barely touch my keyboard and mouse. And I just fire up the game and the game comes on and it doesn't crash. Nothing goes off. And I'm like, oh my goodness. And so I like, get into the game and I start playing a little bit. Everything's fine. It's working perfectly. And I'm like looking at the time and it's date night. So I got to take my wife to dinner. Yeah. And so I'm like, no way. And so I'm like, Jay, listen, I got to go. And he's laughing. He's like, there's no way that this is what happened. Like you hit it like an old TV and it started working. Yeah. And he's like, that's just
delicate electronics and circuit boards.
Yeah. He's like, it's just not possible. This is not it's not fixed.
Get the rabbit ears out and start.
Exactly. Yeah, he was joking about that. He was like, maybe
wrap the rabbit ears in foil. Maybe it'll help.
Yeah, the joke, he was like, dude, maybe this is just the wisdom of our ancestors. They used to just smack TVs and move wires around, and that worked.
I literally have had to multiple times hit our washer because there's some little connection in there that won't let it go to like the spin cycle.
Yeah.
And I fixed multiple things on it that have fixed it for some period of time.
Yeah.
And my wife will like text me once every couple of weeks, be like, it won't work. And I come home and I'm like, bam, and like smack either the display where all the dials are.
Yeah.
And that's worked before, or I hit the lid, or I like knee it in the front.
And it just fires right up.
After one of those three things, so far it's always turned back on. It'll like and like start, and I'm like, I don't know which component that was.
Yeah.
I have to wait till it really truly burns out and then I can troubleshoot it.
Yeah, figure it out. Yeah. So
I thought I replaced all the parts that would do this already.
Oh, well. Yeah, so
it's spinning, honey.
It's happening now.
I don't know.
Yeah, so I went to dinner. I was just like excited and nervous. I was like, I can't wait to go home and see if it's going to really work. And I left it on while I was at dinner. And, we had dinner. I'm plugged in. I do like dismiss it from my mind. And I'm plugged in at dinner, talking to my wife, hanging out. We go back. I walk in my office. Like I like crack the door gingerly and like.
Don't want to breathe on it.
Yeah, like very slowly. Because I think I'm in my head. I'm thinking, okay, the screen's going to be black. It's not going to work. But I'm going to be so heartbroken when that occurs. And so I open the door and come in and look around the corner, and the screens are still on. And I was like, oh, no way, dude. And I sat down and jumped into
Did you
Discord.
get any sleep last night?
Yeah, I got a little bit of sleep. I forced myself off at 11:30. So I got in bed. I was in bed by like 12:02.
Oh, okay. Impressive.
Yeah.
I was like, you seem pretty good this morning, so
I've had caffeine.
seems like not a
Yeah,
okay.
I've had caffeine, which is not good for me, but I just I gotta make it. I gotta make this work. So
we got to wrap this up.
Yeah,
so
we
can
do.
Go to the next one.
we do. Yeah, so I did that. We did that. I sat down. It worked. The computer worked. I played video games for like 6 hours, and I was so happy. I played well into being too tired to play, so I was just dying, not hitting any shots, like not being useful.
Yeah.
Didn't care. It was so great. Yeah.
So that is a great illustration of how God doesn't give us what we want, but what we need.
Right. Yeah.
And also showed you that you had absolutely no part
control
in bringing it to fruition.
Right. Right. So now my computer's just
It
fixed.
was not your intelligence or your friend's genius at IT work. It was a stupid,
mistake.
yeah,
I dropped the computer.
butterfingered your computer, and
Yeah, and it just
and even
turned
sounded
on.
like it broke worse.
Yeah.
And God's still like, I'll give you a few hours of.
Yeah. So we're gonna see when I get home today. I'm gonna probably play a little bit before I take a nap. We'll see if it's still working. But I don't know. It was a cool story. I enjoyed it. I had a good time last night. But yeah, guys, we're gonna wrap this up. We love you. Work hard, man. Work diligently, and work a little bit at a time. You don't have to get everything done all at once.
Be fruitful like a tree, not efficient like a machine.
Yes, you are not a machine. You are an organic creature, like a tree.
You are a small painting of God,
Yes. Yeah. And
an
you
image
will-
bearer.
Yeah, God did not create everything all at once. He did it over
That's
7
true.
days.
He did it over several days.
He did it over several
He could
days.
have done it all at once.
Instantly. He
But
could have
didn't,
done it instantly.
as an example to us.
Right.
And he rested. It's not like God needs rest.
Yeah.
Like he got tired.
Right.
It's like, whew, I got to take a smoke break.
Right.
I got to take a water break.
I've been at this.
This attic's hot.
Yeah, exactly. No, he did not. He rested.
As an example to us.
Yeah. Just relax. Go at a slow pace. Plod along. We love you guys. Please go to church. Find a young woman to have some kids with. We are praying for you. I prayed for you guys this week. We love you. We're out. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.